Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining this digital content. We're really excited to meet you all at the Support World Live event and tell you more about Oomnitza's modern IT asset management platform, which can be used to automate a ton of your internal IT processes that have an asset context and turn technology into your competitive advantage. Let's start the presentation here, which kind of feels like bad news, but really it's because IT, your jobs are more important than they've ever been before. You're the broker and kind of provider of all of the technology services that makes knowledge workers productive and go forward in their jobs. However, the tools and the processes by which you're using these tools to get your job done, the CFO and CEO organizations think that there's too much money going in and not enough outcome or output coming out the other end. What we want to offer you today is to show you a methodology, an architecture, an approach that's going to allow you to scale IT without needing a bunch of new dollars and inputs, but rather to take the tools you have today and the policies and processes that you want to execute on and be able to get them done at scale without adding a bunch of new manual process. So you've all done a really good job of putting in a bunch of tools and technologies and services and partners that work well for you. For example, you might be partnering with Dell to lease assets, partnering with SHI to buy new stuff, using HRIS as your core identity and HR system, Okta as your way to permit access to various services and SaaS applications, CrowdStrike on your endpoints for security, Intune and Jamf on those same endpoints for management, uh, service like Zendesk or ServiceNow to manage all of the service requests, incidents, changes, and so on that you have across IT. But often the challenge is not that you have these solutions, but rather that they don't speak or work together well enough. For example, there are a number of business processes where it would make sense for a system like Workday to execute a process and to kind of speak to a system like Intune or CrowdStrike. But in reality, not many people have those two systems connected. So what we would argue for is a new paradigm of doing things where this is not your world anymore. The amount of technology sprawl that exists across the systems landscape makes it such that it's really hard for you to get a handle on all of the technology assets you own, and therefore really hard to drive business processes across all of the various services that you're using. And although I'm sure you get a bunch of different workflows done across the IT lifecycle, it probably looks like this: a bit chaotic, a ton of manual workload, a ton of rework, um, probably data that you can't really trust across the whole time. And I guess fear not, you're not alone. This is what we see in the wild all the time. It's you get processes like purchasing, onboarding, offboarding, refresh forecasting, these common IT processes, you're getting them done, and we're seeing that our customers are too. But they're happening with way too much input, way too much manual work, way too much importing, exporting, paying for things you don't need, and meantime, not managing the risk as appropriately. And also, I'm sure all of your various executives and teams are really excited about all of the AI and automation capabilities that are available today. Well, as you know, the truth is that you really cannot do AI and automation on garbage data. Otherwise, you're just making garbage go faster. So for more reason than one, you really need to get this data story in order. And the kind of approach that I want to evangelize for today and to tell you more about is the way Oomnitza does it, which is this asset-centric approach of integrating with all of the common systems that are already in the environment and doing API level actions across all of the systems and tools, rather than the more manual or ticket-centric frameworks that we've come to know and use. The challenge with these architectures, and there's nothing wrong with them from a day-to-day kind of service management perspective, but the challenge with these architectures is that you will always need more humans to scale a new business process. Whereas with the asset-centric architecture, you can automate workflows with data that you can trust without necessarily needing a ton of new inputs. So the way we do this is we take that fragmented technology sprawled data and any system that has context on assets in IT, and we consume that into our unified technology database, which normalizes the data, correlates the data, and dedupes it. and gets it ready to be able to write back into the original sources or take action in those original sources, like changing records in specific systems or shutting down a device in, say, an Intune or a Jamf. And what this ultimately allows you to do is to take your policies and your business processes from the whiteboard and orchestrate them easily and in an automated fashion across your existing systems landscape throughout the asset lifecycle. This type of workflow automation allows you to get real outcomes and take real actions in these downstream systems, not to just create another ticket or create another task for a human to take the next step in the business process. And so when you do this effectively, not only do you get a rich source of truth on all the asset data that you can trust without needing a ton of new developers or consultants, but you also get the ability to automate these business processes with high fidelity across the technology lifecycle. And by doing that, you're being a better corporate citizen to your primary executives, the CIO and the CISO, as they have to go and report up to the board around financial accountability, continuous audit preparedness, the ability to monitor and report on compliance controls and policies, and the general posture and hygiene of your security programs. Because all of that relies on having foundational data that you can trust and to orchestrate workflows that are as close to policy as possible. I've really enjoyed sharing a little bit about our story today, but I hope you come meet with us in person at the event to learn a lot more. On this technology data that you can trust with Oomnitza, you're able to build no-code workflows across security use cases, employee and customer experience use cases, finance use cases, audit and compliance use cases, to be able to really nail a large chunk of the core function in IT in an automated and AI-ready fashion. Can't wait to meet you in person. See you in a bit. Thank you. Bye.